भाई जो मेरे प्यासे जब तक नहीं लौटेंगे, अम्मू मेरे दरिया से रहने दे फूफी जान, पानी नहीं पीना क्या ढूंढ रही है जंगल में सकीना, अब्बास के बाजू या बाबा का सीना। सलवा
Today's Majlis is sponsored for the Saliva of Tabatabai Pyar Ali Master. So you are requested to kindly recite a Surah Fatiha for her benefit. Par Muhammad wa ali Muhammad Salawat. Now I would like to invite Sheikh Shahnawaz to the member to deliver today's Majlis in Urdu and English. Par Muhammad wa ali Muhammad Salawat.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين وباعث الأنبياء والمرسلين الذي بعد فلا يرى وقرب فشهد النجوى تبارك وتعالى. ثم الصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على خاتم النبيين وسيد المرسلين وشفيع المذنبين الرسول المؤيد والنبي الممجد المصطفى الأمجد أبي القاسم محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين، لا سيما على الإمام المنتظر وحجة الله الثاني عشر ابن العسكري المنتظر، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد فإن الله الصادق العليم قال في كتابه الكريم القرآن الحكيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وجاءت سكرة الموت بالحق ذلك ما كنت منه تحيد صلوات. Last night, the discussion on how when the hearts are fertile, nasayih, maw'idha, and advices have an effect that the eyes begin to weep. And we gave the examples last night as to how tears play such an important role in the life of a mu'min according to the Holy Quran. Sentiments, if they need to be expressed correctly, one of the best ways are by means of the tears. And these tears come out when the heart is fertile. You heard last night as to how when the Masumin would hear things about the Akhirah, would affect them to such an extent that the eyes would begin to weep. And they would weep so much and they would weep so much that they would fall down unconscious. It is amazing that Ali falls down unconscious. It is amazing that Fatima falls down unconscious. This is that same Fatima that when she stands up for prayers, Hadith al-Qudsi says, Allah turns to the angels and says, Undhuru ya malaikati, look at my servant, my slave girl, my kaneez, O angels, kayfa tartadda adla'aha. See how her shoulders shiver out of her fright when she stands up before me. When Fatima faints, that means there is something huge. When Fatima faints, that means something big. But when Fatima can get affected and we don't get affected, then there is a serious problem. And that is why we've got traditions. It says, Kullu aynin baqiyatun yawm al-qiyamah. On the day of judgment, all eyes are going to weep. See, there are certain facts that will come that might become very difficult to digest. But again, as we said from the very first Majlis, standing out in the sun and closing one's eyes will not make the sun go away. You put yourself into a delusion that the sun is gone. The sun is still there. I have closed my eyes. The riwayat says, وَكُلُّ عَيْنٍ بَاكِيَةٌ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. On the day of judgment, every eye will weep. Some out of remorse, some out of fear. You heard that ayah, the very first verses of Surah Al-Hajj. وَتَرَى النَّاسَ السُّكَارَى. You will see people intoxicated. You will hear a little bit about intoxication. This intoxication is of the Akhirah. Before the Akhirah is reached, another intoxication coming very shortly in the next few minutes. وَتَرَى النَّاسَ السُّكَارَى. You will see the people intoxicated. وَمَا هُمْ بِالسُّكَارَى. They are not intoxicated. It says, وَلَكِنَّ عَذَابَ اللَّهِ الشَّدِيدِ. The adhab of God is shadid. Makes you lose all sense of everything around you. Riwayat says, وَكُلُّ عَيْنٍ بَاكِيَةٌ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. On the day of judgment, every eye shall weep, except one. 3 eyes, the riwayat says, will not weep. So important for my youngsters over here. كُلُّ عَيْنٍ بَاكِيَةٌ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ إِلَّا. All eyes on the day of judgment shall be weeping, except one. The eye, one we mentioned last night, the eye that sheds tears for Hussein ibn Ali. Second, the eye that weeps out of the fear of God, Fatima and Ali. And the third eye, the eye that lowers the gaze as opposed to looking for something haram. That these are the three eyes on the day of judgment will not cry. All other eyes will be weeping and crying on the day of judgment. You go to the university, you see girls. You go on the streets, you see things that you're not supposed to see. You're sitting in the house in front of a computer. Your parents are not here. Your relatives are not here. Nobody there to guard. Nobody there to police. You're alone in the confines of your house. Forget the computers, your mobile phones. You can access so many sites. You can access so many things. You can do so many things with it. God says, if those eyes don't see those things, that eye will not cry on the day of judgment. Ajab the saza. But the point that we need to come is that all along we've been discussing. We've been trying to understand death, but what happens when actual death comes? What happens? Because we want to move into Barzakh. It's the fourth Majlis, and now I'm not even moved into my discussion. But what do? I can't help it. I have to explain. If I just rush into something without explaining, it will not have its impact. It will not prove to be meaningful. It will be irrelevant. I have to move slowly. Tonight is the fourth, and as I say right now, the fourth Majlis. 3 Majlis finish, I'm already lagging behind by 1 Majlis. So by the time I finish, I will be lagging behind by 4 Majlis. That means 1 more khamsa to be added, but not this time, some other time. By the time we come to the end, probably you might not be in a position to tolerate me anymore, or me not tolerating you, but that we will see. But the point that is important to understand is that, you remember that second Majlis when we talk? That man fears death because he feels the moment death will come, it will separate him from this world, and this is what death does. When Malakal Mouth comes, separates man from all that he has been attached to. And how does he come? Ajab riwayat says. I keep saying what I'm presenting to you is probably 1/50th what we've seen. And many times, honestly, when you read, you want to cry, you want to weep. There's things that are mentioned. You say, really, you're in a dream world. Riwayats, Hazrat Ibrahim, Sheikh al-Anbiya. Hazrat Ibrahim, if you have a look at amongst all the prophets, the second most important prophet is Hazrat Ibrahim. So Isa stationed on sky number 4. Ibrahim stationed on the 7 skies. When the Holy Prophet went on Mi'raj, just before he could reach Sidratul Muntaha, he had to pass to the 7 skies. He meets Hazrat Ibrahim over there. Then he processed past the 7th sky into the Sidratul Muntaha. And then that entire discussion about Mi'raj. Probably a little reference to Mi'raj will come tonight. Sheikh al-Anbiya, Hazrat Ibrahim, one day he talks. He says, Ya Allah, I want to meet Malakal Mouth. Malakal Mouth comes to him. Ya Nabi Allah, you wanted to meet me. He says, I want to see how do you take the soul of a person who is an evil person. How do you take the soul, how do you approach a person who's been sinning, who's been disobeying God, who's been flouting? Khuda hai, wo akhirat ki baat. Dunya mein to hum aish kar le. How do you approach this man? He's saying, Ya Nabi Allah, forgive me, mujhe maaf kari. Don't make me show myself to you. You will not be able to bear. Ibrahim says, I'm the Nabi of God. I'm the Khalil of God. You doubt my sabr? He's saying, it's not that. It's the way that God has ordained. Even you will not be able to bear. He's saying, Ibrahim says, I want to see this Malakal Mouth. I want to see how you actually come to somebody who is an evil person to pick up his soul. So the Malakal Mouth says, Ya Nabi Allah, can you just turn? When I tell you, you turn back. Hazrat Ibrahim turns. Now when he turns back, he sees the sight of Malakal Mouth in a state which I will describe later. The riwayat say, as soon as Malakal Mouth says, Ya Nabi Allah, you can turn now. Ibrahim turns, looks at him, gives a shout, falls down unconscious. Ibrahim falls down unconscious. This is that same Ibrahim who with his knife in the hand was willing to slaughter his son Ismail for the sake of God, yet he did not faint. Ibrahim has a look at Malakal Mouth, faints. When he comes up, he sees Malakal Mouth back in its original sense, in its original form. Riwayat say, he says, Ya Malakal Mouth, forget about all the adab that God has mentioned to a person who has been sinning and disobeying him. The very fact that the sight that you've seen is enough punishment for a person who is opposing God. But this thing that goes on, it's just a small little trailer. The start of the dua, the start of the majlis, Surah Kahf. Go and read Surah Kahf, Surah number 50. Last night was Surah Hud. Tonight is Surah Kahf. Surah Kahf, verse number 19. وَجَاءَتْ سَكْرَةُ الْمَوْتِ بِالْحَقِّ. And comes the stupor of death in reality and truth. Quran says, وَجَاءَتْ سَكْرَةُ الْمَوْتِ بِالْحَقِّ ذَلِكَ مَا كُنْتَ مِنْهُ تَحِيدٌ. God says the Sakratul Maut, the stupor of death. I will explain what it is. Comes the stupor of death. When the stupor of death comes, this is exactly what you had been running away from. But there is no escape from the clutches of death. And this Sakratul Maut is what brings about the difference between man and all that he likes, between man and all his inclinations. When death comes and death is taking the soul from the body, a state comes between Mufradat. Is a book written by Raghib Isfahani. It's a lexicon of the Arabic language. It gives the meaning of words. Written by a Sunni scholar, Raghib Isfahani, from Isfahan. But a very munsif kitab. You will see in innumerable places Allama Tabatabai referring to this book when he's trying to find out and explain meanings of certain Arabic words. So, قال الراغب في مفرداته. Numerous times Allama Tabatabai keeps repeating in Tafsir al-Mizan. Over here in this Tafsir al-Mufradat, in his words, when he's talking about Sakratul Maut, he says, this is that state that takes man, that overcomes man between himself and his mind, so that now he's not able to think. Riwayat says, when death comes, man experiences the agony of death, experiences the Sakratul Maut. Sakratul Maut means the pain of death. Sakratul Maut means the agony of death. The word Sakratul Maut does not mean agony of death. It refers to the pain when a person is dying. The word Sakra comes from the word Sukr. Sukr means intoxication. Many times people ask us, what is the meaning of this? What is the reason for this? What is the reason for this? For example, why is Maghrib 3 rakat? Why is there only one ruku in a rakat and 2 sajdas in the rakat? We don't know. Very simple, I don't know. We don't know because certain things have not been told to us. You will not find in the riwayat stating what is the reason for having 2 sajdas. Those things that you hear, that it represents that when you go into the first sajda, it means you've come from the earth. When you stand up, it means the time that you are living in this world. You go into the second sajda, means you're returning back to the earth. That is an explanation. That is not the reason. I don't know. We don't know. Not come. Because I don't know, we don't know. The reason is not that we've not tried. Because we've not got any riwayat that states why. Sometimes things are ta'abbudi. You're supposed to do it, you're supposed to do it. You like it or not. You like it or not, you're supposed to do it. That's what is God's ruling. Person has to offer his prayers. Person doesn't offer his prayers on time, he has to do qada. This person now dies. Dead, finished, done, khalas. God says no qada. What is the use of the qada? This man has died. You would say salat while he's alive needs to be done because it provides X benefit, Y benefit, Z benefit. But this man is dead. Now why? What is the need for qada? Why is it important? Wajib on the eldest son to offer his prayers? I think that is not your concern. I want prayers for him to be announced and prayed. He has to pray. Either he prays or his relatives pray. Has to ta'abbudi, there is no reason. But certain things the riwayat says with reason. This is there because of this. One of the reasons, one of the explanation is this. Say alcohol is haram. Anything that intoxicates, it could be hard, it could be soft. Hard means strong, whiskey, scotch, vodka. Soft means beer, Heineken, Budweiser, whatever. Haram, you cannot. You cannot even put your finger and put it into your lips or your tongue. Haram, not allowed. Here the reason is given. Saying al-khamru haramun. See, we cannot come out with solutions from ourselves. We cannot come out with relationship from ourselves. We cannot come out with explanations from ourselves. We can only surmise. We can only conjecture. We cannot state with definition till we don't get it from the riwayat. This is what certain individuals from certain communities were doing. They would do qiyas. Sixth Imam says, Inna ad-deen Allah la yuqasu bil uqul. You cannot I'll tell you what qiyas is and what people would do. And this is what we need to refrain. We can't just pick up the Quran and say, oh, we understand this is the ruling of God. Because this is what was people were doing and Imam cursed them. You can't understand and pass rulings on the ruling on the religion of God as and how you want. There were certain individuals, for example, okay, this is live streaming? Yeah? Certain communities, you have leaders who would come use their own intelligence to come up with the rulings of God, with their own ruling. For example, they would take up something compared to something else and pass the ruling. Like what? Water is one of the mutahirat. See, I need to calm things down because there are certain things that become very heavy. So I need to push, Water is one of the mutahirat. It purifies. So this person looks at water and says, okay, my intelligence says water according to the riwayat is something that makes things najis, things tahir. So what are the characteristics of water? So one, it is fluid, it is flowing, it is colorless, it is tasteless, it is odorless. So anything that is flowing, that is colorless, tasteless and odorless will purify. So now anything that matches this criteria should purify. So then he looks at something called the saliva in the mouth. He's saying saliva is liquid, it's flowing, it's tasteless, colorless, odorless. Wow. It matches with all the qualities of water. So if water can make a najis hand pak, so saliva can also make a najis hand pak. So just as you put water on your hand when it becomes najis and it becomes pak, you put spit on your hand when it becomes najis, it will become pak. So he says saliva also has the same qualities of making tahir as water. Sixth Imam says mal'oon. You can't, whoever says the saliva can purify. Inna ad-din Allah la yuqasu bil-uqul. The religion of God cannot be completely understood by the mind. It has to come from the Quran. It has to come from the Sunnah. It cannot come from individual brains. This brain is naqis. It doesn't understand anything. Similarly, it comes over here that when you want to understand, you need to go know the illat. When it comes to khamr, sukr, when it comes to alcohol, you have a reason. Riwayat says, al-khamru haramun. Alcohol, intoxication intoxicant is haram. Al-khamru haramun li'annahu muskir. Alcohol is haram, beer is haram, fulan is haram, drugs are haram. Anything that intoxicates is haram because it intoxicates. It removes the senses of the mind. So anything that takes it away, whether it is weed, whether it is ganja, whether it is bhang, whether it is whatever, anything that takes mind from its senses is called haram, intoxicates. Here we know the illah. This intoxication means sukr. This sukr is what is referred to when a person is dying, when death comes. وَجَاءَتْ سَكْرَةُ الْمَوْتِ. The stupor, the intoxication of death comes. And the reason that is mentioned is that when death comes, the pain that it brings as is associated with death is so intense, is so excruciating, is so immense, it's so forbearing, it is so overwhelming, it is so dominant. Man loses sense of time, man loses sense of consciousness, it doesn't know what happened. It's referred to as the intoxication of death. Ajab, this is you want to know how much it comes out? What it means? Somebody with the Holy Prophet is walking on the road, suddenly talks come. Ya Rasulullah, you talk about death. Akthir dhikr al-maut. Increase constantly, keep this thinking of death. But when death comes, how does it come? We are frightened. Is it difficult? He says, if you don't take care of yourself, it's going to be very difficult. Then what is the meaning? Quran says, وَجَاءَتْ سَكْرَةُ الْمَوْتِ بِالْحَقِّ. The stupor of death, the intoxication of death. What does God mean? What is this intoxication? So the Prophet says, Shadidul alam. The pain is intense. So they say, when you say Shadidul alam, when it is the pain is intense, it is absolutely painful, it is absolutely excruciating. How? The Prophet is going on the road. On one side he sees a butcher shop. Butcher shop, the animal has been slaughtered. He is now, after having slaughtered the animal, he is skinning the animal. Half of the skin is peeled. You've seen it, right? When an animal is being slaughtered, after the slaughter, you pull out the skin. The Prophet turns to the ashab and says, you see this animal being slaughtered? Having been slaughtered, he says, yes. You see this man, this kasai, this butcher is skinning this animal? He's saying, yes. Saying, what is the animal state? He's saying, it's dead. Saying, what happens if the animal were alive? And while this animal was alive, and all the senses in order, and all the pain being felt, and all the troubles being experienced, and while he was alive, if he was being skinned, what would be the pain? Ya Rasulullah, ajab this pain is. You can't bear somebody alive, an animal alive, not dead, and being skinned alive. You can't bear it. He says, Sakratul Maut, 1,000 times more difficult than this. 1,000 times more difficult than this. Another occasion, the Prophet is walking. Same question, similar situations. People ask, the job of the Prophet, the task of the Prophet is this. Ya ayyuha rasulu balligh. Inform, otherwise you have not answered anything. His job was to iblag. Same question, going on, goes to a place, sees in the bazaar, Ya Rasulullah, what is the sakratul maut? What is this pain? This occasion he's saying, somebody making mithai, jalebi. You have this jalebi we make. Oil is boiling. Oil boils, you put the jalebi inside, it starts to boil, it starts to simmer. The Prophet looks at him and says, can you see this person making sweets in the oil? Saying yes. Saying, how is the oil? Boiling. Boiling means what? Hot. Hot means hot. Very hot. What would happen if you put your finger into it? It will peel away my skin. He's saying, what happens if a person is put inside and that person is alive and sensing the pain? Saying, Ajab ya Rasulullah, you can. Saddam, that's what he would do. One of the tortures of Saddam was exactly this. He would take a cauldron of oil, bring it to boil. He would then individuals, Shia and Ali, that was his target. The Ba'ath regime was this. He would pick up these Shiites from the haram of Bain al-Haramain, pick them up with iron chains, suspended. Slowly they would be lowered into that cauldron of boiling oil. Slowly as they go down, and then it's brought up. While this person is lowered down, everything is there on his body. When this person, that rope, that chain is pulled up, only the skeleton remains. All flesh is now eaten away, it's melted away. The Prophet says, if a living person is put into this oil, what would be the pain? The companion says, Ya Rasulullah, unimaginable, we can't even imagine. Says, Sakratul Maut, 1,000 times more than this. That's what Quran says. وَجَاءَتْ سَكْرَةُ الْمَوْتِ. Doesn't say, and comes death. Says, comes the intoxication of death. The pain that comes is ajab. You cannot understand, you cannot imagine what this pain is. 2 days ago I mentioned on one occasion that many a times our imams, our masumeen would give indications, give stories about events that have taken place in the past. A lot of these stories have been narrated by the masumeen themselves. One incident, I mentioned last time, 2 lectures before, another incident today. Narrated by Sadiq Ali Muhammad, Ja'far ibn Muhammad and Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam. You understand, Ja'at Sakratul Mauta, 1,000 times more than being skinned alive, 1,000 times more than being boiled alive. That is what is referred to as the stupor of death, as the intoxication of death. In this state of time, look at this riwayat. The 6th Imam is narrating. In the time of Bani Israel, there were certain youths. Muta'abbidin, the word says. Muta'abbidin means religious youths, who one day decided to move into the world to see the signs of God. See, this moving out into the world is something that Quran emphasizes immensely. Siru fil ard fandur kayfa kana aqibatul mukaththibin. Go into the lands, go into my earth, and you will see the signs of what has happened. How I have dealt with individuals who dared stand to oppose me. This Pharaoh stands before me and says, Ana rabbukumul a'la. He tells the people, I am your greatest Lord. See what I've done with him. Go, Siru, walk. Take a trip into the lands. Look at our signs. Look at our creation. Look at our mountains. Look at our nature. Look and read the history to see what we did with people who dared to oppose us. People of power, people of rank, people of position, people of wealth. Where do they stand? Nothing. This is what happens on the day of judgment. Riwayat says on the day of judgment, when the first, we have to keep moving to give an understanding. On the day of judgment, The riwayat says, the fourth Imam, riwayat of Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salatu wassalam. The fourth Imam says, on the day of judgment, when the first sur, the trumpet will be blown, Israfil will blow the trumpet, everybody will die. Everyone will die. As soon as Sayhatan wahidatan, Surah Yasin says, one shriek, everybody dead, except for Israfil. Israfil is alive. Everybody killed as soon as the sound of the trumpet of Israel blows into everybody's ears, everybody dead. Sayhatan wahidatan, baghtatan, Quran says, suddenly. So quickly, so suddenly, riwayat says, an individual will be into the shop, say, I want to buy this item. The shopkeeper will weigh the item, take up the item, give it to this man. This man takes out the money, gives it to that man. He's extending his hand. That man is raising his hands to collect the money. Baghtatan, suddenly the Qiyamah comes. That man is not even gets the time to collect the money. The trumpet will be blown. Finished. Riwayat